case study for an IPP, independent power plant. I'm sure I shared the same question with you, so you can have a look at the question on your own. Let me straight away draw your attention to the basic details of the project, including the costs, that is the activities, costs, revenue estimates, and their timings as shown in table 1. We have got this question. The SPV has set a minimum acceptable rate of return of 12% for this project. So table 1 gives us the activities, the costs, and also the timing, right? Then the name here, these are the activities. For full explanation, we have been referred to appendix 1. Okay, so these are the costs in millions of dollars, then the start date, and also the finishing date. Okay, like I told you earlier on that you might not be aware of all these activities, but you would need to consult. You work in consultation with engineers. Okay, before looking at the actual question, let's go to the appendix, right? INV, that's invitation to tender, design and feasibility, award of concession, mobilization and temporary works. So all these activities, if you consult engineers, they will actually tell you all the activities that would need to be taken into account when carrying out a project. So these are the same that we have in this table. Then required, develop a base case model in Excel or Excel VBA. We are not going to use Excel VBA, but to use Excel. So for exam purposes, you guys are supposed to do the modeling in Excel, right? Then B, assuming a 5% and a 10% for the best and worst case scenarios respectively, develop the best and worst case models for the SPV. Then you get your marks there. So let's straight away open a spreadsheet, and I would want to show you the modeling process. Let's straight away open a spreadsheet. So I just copied the table. Because it contains most of the information that we are going to use for modeling purposes. I just copied the table. Everything is there. Right. The starting point when you are modeling in Excel, here I'm using Google Docs, but you guys I'm using Google Sheets. You guys in your exam you'll be using Excel. So the functions, they are just the same because we are not going to use any difficult functions here. The functions are just the same. The formulas you get in Google Docs, you get in Google Sheets, and the ones that you get in Excel, they are just the same. I'm using Google Sheets for illustration purposes. Okay, so the first point, as you can see, most of the activities here, they are happening or they are taking place within the same year. This one from 2019 to 2019, that is 2019 to 2019, then December 2019 to January 2019. So it's actually slipping over into another year, but don't worry, I'll explain to you. So what you need to do is to look for those activities that are broken down. For example, part of the project takes place in 2019, and part of the project takes place in 2020, and probably the balance would take place in 2021, like that. For example, if you come over, let me not start with this one, but let me start with this one, ELE, right? It's starting in 2020 and ending in 2021. So what I would do here is I'll say calculation of timing, right? Calculation of timing. Okay, calculation of timing. Allow me to have or to merge these cells. Okay, merge all. Okay, I'm now formatting. Okay, right, so this would be 20, then 2021, then 2022, like this. So if you come under ELE, right, July 2020, it's starting in July 2020 and ending in March 2021. How do you count this? July, that's July, August, September, October, November, December. So you have 6 months in 2020. Then it's ending in what? It's ending in March, right? So you come and say January, February, right? March, you don't count March. Why? Because the assumption that we are making is this one, which I'm going to write here, for the timing. Right, it starts at the beginning and ends at the beginning, right? This is just for you to take note of, right? So we are saying it starts at we assume that it starts at the beginning of July and ends, right, and ends at the beginning of March. So if it ends at the beginning of March, what it means is March is not being considered. We are only considering January and February. That's why I had to put 2 months here. So we have 6 months for 2020 and we have 2 months for 2021, right? We now come over to BDG, November 2020. So we have November and December, so I have to put a 2 there. Then we have January, February, March, April, so we have 4 there. Okay, then we have December 2020, that's 1, up to beginning of October. So I would put a what? I would put a 9 there, which means it's taking place at the beginning of October. In other words, that's the end of September. So if I come to the first one, which is AWA, which is 29 up to January 2020. So we can actually say this activity is taking place in 2019, which means we will not consider January 2020. So it's taking place in 2019 and ending at the beginning of January 2020. In other words, it's just ending at the end of 2020, at the end of 2019, and not spilling into January 2020, right? Let's see if we have other activities that are taking place and spanning throughout the years. Okay, revenue, we'll consider revenue because we have so many years. We'll consider O&M and revenue in the next table that we will have for the estimation of the calculations of the base case cash flows, right? So having done this, you can come over here and add another sheet. Let me add another sheet where I will straight away do my, I'll call this base case CF for cash flow, right? In cell A1, let me just say parameter. Okay, then I come down and say right, activity. Okay, activity or item. Okay, then I have my time. I have my timing where we are saying okay, under timing, my project is starting in 2019. and ending in 2020, right, 2019. Then I move on 2020, okay, 2021, right, up to a time, up to a point when I get to 2036, that is to the end of 2036. Okay, so if you drag, right, if you just drag there, I'm now in 2032. I need to get to 2036, right? So it means I need more cells, right? Okay, 2037. I don't need 2037 then. I need up to the end of. Okay, then I now come over the activities. All right. Okay, activities. Okay, the activities to make my life simple. Okay, let me just type there and say these are the sorry, I would start with the revenue. Okay, I will start with the revenue, right? I would start with the revenue. Okay, so the revenue for 2019, the revenue is zero. The revenue is zero. For 2020, the revenue is zero. And also for 2021, the revenue is zero. But once, according to this table, 2022, that's where we would begin to have revenue up to 2037. In other words, it's up to the end of 2036. That is up to December 2036. That's why I had to pick 2036 there, right? So I would put 250 if I want. But since I have everything in the table, I can simply say equals to you come and click here. I'm now linking worksheets equals to this 250. You click on 250, then you press enter. Okay, you press enter, right, you press enter again. So as you can see, it's now displaying the formula. It's now displaying the formula. I want to edit the formula right away, and I'm sure you guys, you are well aware of absolute referencing, right? You are well of these issues when you want to reference cells. Why? The reason why I'm putting the dollar sign is I want to drag this up to the end, because I want all these other cells to reference this cell that has 250 without shifting, without having to shift, right? So you come over here, you pick this, then you drag this. Okay, you drag this up to 2036. So that's the revenue. Okay, you now have your 250. Okay, so after the revenue, you now go to the costs, right? You now go to the cost. The cost that I have, it's simple as well. You simply say equals to, you go to project, you go to the project details, you pick the activities, you simply press enter, right? You simply press enter. Right, so I want to drag, because these are structured column wise until I take everything, right? Until I take everything. Okay, so I end here. Let me just remove the revenue. Okay, and remove these other formulas that I had copied. Okay, right, so these are the costs. Okay, what I now need to do is, if you come over here, I now need to drag this and make sure that the timings are always visible. Okay, it's possible for you to freeze some columns or some rows, right? I want to freeze and make sure that this part is visible, right? Okay, sorry about that message. Probably it's the network. Okay, right? Okay, I will start with inv. Simply say equals to, right? You go to the, right, it's equals, then you need to go to the to the to the worksheet again. Okay, so it's equals project details, then you pick that cell, right? um, Also take note of the formula. So I would now need to pick those activities that are happening in 2019, in 2019, 2019, right? Those that are happening in 2019, right? The first three are taking place in 2019, so I just need to drag down. The first three are taking place in 2019. Then mobilization is taking place in 2020, so it's just equals project details, then mobilization. Okay, click mobilization. I have mobilization up to BLK, right? So you just press enter again. Okay, then I now need to drag up to BLK, right? BLK, if you come, the effect now of having a broken down timing is 6 months. You now need to factor in 6 months, right? So the total is 6 plus 2, you get 8. Then 2 plus 4, you get 6. 1 there plus there, you get 10. So how do you factor in? What it means is if you, okay, so it should be for ELE. Sorry, BLK is taking place, the whole of BLK is taking place in 2020, right? So I come now over here and say and have this formula and say right, equals to project finance, project details, this one, right? I now want to edit the formula and say multiplied by 6 divided by 8 and close, and simply press enter, right? So you get your 750, right? What it means is okay, sorry about that, okay, so I have 45. Okay, that's correct. So 60 minus 45, it means the balance there, right? I can simply drag this formula and make sure I edit the formula, right? I edit the formula. Project finance D11, project finance, right? D11 multiplied by 2 over 8, right? Multiplied by 2 over 8. So 45 plus 15 is equal to what? Is equal to 60. Where is the 60? This is the 60. So I do the same for these other two projects, right? I do the same for these other two projects and the remaining projects as well. Okay, so I paused my video and had to enter all these values. As you can see, for BDG I have 15 and 30. Then for BLR, you can just look at the formula there. All right, I have 16.5 and 148.5. Then all the other expenses taking place in 2021, you can look at the formula. Then O&M is starting in 2022 up to 2037. That is up to the end of 2036. So I now need to come and edit this formula and put some dollar signs to lock that cell, such that when I drag it up to the end, I won't have any challenges. Okay, so after dragging 45 you now need to come and determine the total annual cost. The total annual cost. The total annual cost. How would you do that? Okay, for 2019, so it's simply equals to sum, right? Equals to sum from B7 down up to, right, up to B23. Okay, up to B23. Then you now need to drag this, formula up to 2036, okay, up to 2036. Then you now have your total annual cost. Okay, let me just do some formatting. Okay, so I've highlighted up to S24. I want to bold this because it's an important number, and I want to format this right, and make it a number and add some, right, I want to add some lines there. All right, so this is the total annual cost. All right, I also want to get the annual cash flow. Okay, annual cash flow, the annual cash flow. So for you to get the cash flow, it's simply revenue. Minus cost. So it's equals to my revenue, then minus my cost, minus my total cost. That is the total annual cost. You press enter. Okay, you drag the same up to 2036. Okay, up to 2036. You drag up to 2036. So what it means is I now have my annual cash flows. Okay, let me just put an A there. I now have my annual cash flow. I still want to do the same formatting. Okay, I've highlighted again. I want to do the same. All right, I want to add some lines and make this a number. Okay, I also want to get the overall project profit, the overall project profit. Okay, so I have caps on. Okay, overall project profit, right? When we talk about of the overall project profit, okay, let me just format again. Okay, so for you to get the overall project profit, it's simply total revenue minus total cost. So how do you do that? For you to get the total revenue, you simply need to come to this end and say here you are dealing with grand totals. You are now dealing with grand totals. Okay, so it's simply the sum of all the revenues for the project. Revenue, you are starting from this, okay, up to 2036. Okay, sorry for that. Up to 2036. Simply get that total. All right, so sorry about that. Up to S. Okay, I'm editing the formula. Okay, all right, so you now do the same for the costs, right? You now do the same for the costs. Right, you now do the same for the costs. Okay, now do the same for the costs. Okay, up to cell B24, you press enter. Then now for you to get the overall project profit, it's simply revenue, that is the total revenue. This is the total revenue minus the total cost, that one. So that's the overall project profit. Okay, let me just come to the end. Okay, to this okay, to this column. I just want to highlight it. Okay, let me just highlight this in probably in green, and also bold it, and okay, right, great, and make this a number as well. Okay, such that, so that's the total revenue which we are expecting from this project, and these are the total costs. So it means total revenue minus total cost, you get the overall project profitability after 20 after all those years, probably 18 years. All right, okay, let's move on. Having done this, you now have your base case cash flow. You now need to move on and look at the CCF, the cumulative cash flow. So I add another sheet. And rename it to base case CCF. I really need to name it to base case CCF, right? Okay, so here I've typed cumulative cash flow, that is CCF, year, time, cash flow, then CCF. We want to calculate the CCF. Here I would start with 2019, 2020, 2021. Okay, as I go, the trick is just to highlight everything, then you drag up to 20. We want to get up to 2030, 2036. Okay, we want to get up to 2036. Okay, all right, then the same year, what time, 1 2 3, you do the same trick, you apply the same trick of just dragging, then Excel would do the autofill up to 2036. So we now have our 18 years, right? The cash flows, we want to take the cash flows that we have determined, so it's equals to you now come to base case CF. The cash flow for year 2019 is this one, which is negative, right? Then you simply do the same procedure that we have been doing. Okay, you press enter. Okay, but this time you cannot drag these figures, so you just have to do one by one. Equals to base case, equals to base case. Then you now come and take this one again. So you repeat the same process until you have all the cash flows for all the years. Okay, one trick here is for you to come into this formula. You simply come over here and fix the 26 there. You press enter, then you drag this down. You drag this one because we have fixed the row. So what you need to do is to come over here, you drag this down, okay, all right, but you need to do a little editing. When you come over here, what you need to know is that the row, that's 26, but what has to change is the column. So we need something that is in column C, right? We need something that is in column C. For this one, we need something that is in column D, right? We need something that is in column E, right? You need something that is in column E, right? Until you get to the end, right? So this is what I have now, right? To calculate the cumulative cash flow, it's just the current cash flow plus the previous cash flow, right? So for this one, it's just equals to 62.5. Then we now come and say equals to the current cash flow, that is 219, plus the previous cash flow, right? Plus the previous cash flow, that is 62.5. But you can simply come over here and say and have it like that, right? Then you can pick this formula. You can drag this formula down. You can drag this formula, right? You can drag this formula down. also note that here we are saying it's the previous, right? The previous, we are in year 1, we don't have year 0, so the cash flow, the CCF for year 1 would just be 62.5. Then for 2019, it's just this one plus this one, we get that one. Then that one, it's just 281 plus 681, we get 900, right? As we go, these are the cumulative what? The cumulative cash flows. So the next step now, after determining the cumulative cash flows, is now to calculate, or is now to determine the economic parameters of the project, which is what we'll do here. Okay, so I have this table for base case economic parameters which I have prepared. So these are the economic parameters that are very important to the SPV when the SPV does the initial assessment of the commercial viability of the project. So you now want to calculate the IRR. To do that, it simply equals to IRR. Okay. All right, just a moment. IRR. Okay, then you pick on the cash flow, so it's based on the IRR is based on the cash flows, right? Or the cash flows, don't confuse with the cumulative cash flows. Okay, then you put a comma, and the IRR is based on the minimum acceptable rate of return, and we have been given that the minimum acceptable rate of return is 12%. So you press enter and you get your, right, you get your IRR of 19.71, right? Then you also now need to come and calculate the NPV. Right, for the NPV, it's simply equal to NPV open bracket. Here we assume a 0%. We assume a 0% discount rate. We assume a 0% discount rate. Then we take our cash flows. We assume a 0% discount rate for all the cash flows, which is not usually the case in the real world. So you get your 2175. All right, then you now need to calculate also the cash lockup. Okay, so it's simply equal to sum from, right, C3 up to C5, right? C3 up to C5. Then if you press your enter, you get your minus 900, and that's the minus 900 that we have there, right? Then you also now need to determine your operational expenditure. You now need to determine your operational expenditure, but to do that, you come over the base case CF, the base case CF, where we have our O&M starting from E23, that is for we have 45 there. If we go to the end, we can just have the O&M, operations and maintenance, that is the OPEX, that's our OPEX there. So it's simply equal to sum E23 up to up to S23, right? Up to S23. Then you press your enter, right? So if you come now back to the base case here, you simply say it's equals to, because we have already calculated that, equals to base case CF, right? Then you pick 675, you press enter, right? You press enter, we now have our 675. Then the total revenue, we have already calculated the total revenue, simply equals to base case CF, then 3750. Okay, then right, we also need to calculate the payback period for this particular project. Okay, let me show you the formula for calculating the payback period. Okay, so this is the formula for calculating the payback period in years. So it's year before full recovery plus unrecovered cash flow over annual cash flow. Let me go back to our problem. Okay, so if we come over here, we can see that we started in the negative with negative these three negative cash flows. Then we started, then in year 4, we began to realize 205 annual. So full recovery of the initial outlay or of the cost of the or of our capital expenditure is taking place. Full recovery is taking place in year number what? In year number 8. So year before full recovery is year number what? Is year number 7. So what we do is we now come over here and say equals to 7, right? Plus, okay, we open bracket and say the unrecovered cash flow is this minus 8 divided by 205. But we want to disregard the negative sign. We have to disregard the negative sign associated with 8. How do we do that? So it's simply minus, right? We put a minus d9, right, divided by 205. Then we close. So it's a minus, this minus and a minus. Then we get a what? We get a plus. Then we press what? We press enter. Okay, so we have 7.390 years, and these are years. So approximately we are taking about 7.4 years to recover our initial outlay. So if you do the same calculations using your calculator, it's just 7 plus 8 over 205, which gives us 7.39 here. All right, so these are the best case economic parameters. These are the best case economic parameters, right? You can now come and comment on this IRR and say it's above the minimum acceptable rate of return. Then our NPV is positive, right? So what should we do if the NPV is positive? Then the cash lockup there, which is our capital expenditure, right? And also the 675 there, that's our operations and maintenance, the cost of operating and maintaining the plant, then the revenue that we get, then the payback period. But the best case economic parameters on their own, they give us little information. We have to compare them with the best case and the worst case scenarios, thereby incorporating risk. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how we can incorporate risk into our modeling framework. For this modeling framework, I've been doing something very, very basic. But for you, you can go ahead and do formatting for your tables and your graphs to look nice. So let's meet in the next, or in our in the next video on how we can incorporate risk. Thank you very much for now.